morning, ladies and gentlemen. In one of my previous videos where I explored a deep cut octahedron where I tried to make the corners void, I actually discovered a very interesting shape partway through the cutting process. Now I wanted to revisit that shape because I really liked it, so let's get started. Wait, hold on. Let's do that bit again. So let's get started.
Alright guys, so this modification is going to be a quick one because I've already covered modifications very similar to this one before. I started this modification by pricing off a couple of the center caps, and then I tightened up the puzzle so that it wouldn't turn. Now I know I say this in pretty much every one of my builds, but I cannot stress just enough how important it is to tighten up the puzzle before you take it over to the bandsaw. You've got to remember that this puzzle isn't a solid block, it's actually a load of pieces that are held together. And if one of those pieces catches on the bandsaw, it could disassemble the entire puzzle and potentially harm you. So it's definitely important to tighten this puzzle up as much as possible without breaking it before cutting it on the bandsaw. I'll make sure to make a video explaining that in a lot more detail a little later on, but there's a lot of safety involved in these modifications, and it's something that I don't explain in enough detail. But anyways, back to the modification. I took the puzzle over to my bandsaw and I tilted the table on my bandsaw and I lined it up, just kind of eyeballing really with the blade and the pieces to make sure I cut off the correct area. After all that was done, I proceeded to cut the four corners off and everything was looking pretty good. Now I know what you're thinking, yes you can make a square base pyramid if I extend all the areas that I haven't cut down, and I intend to do that a little later on, maybe even in this series, but for now I was just going to sand these four faces down and then fill them up and then see what I was left with. So before I started filling up this puzzle, I decided that I would reuse a couple of pieces from my 3x3 octahedron that I made in a previous video. The reason I was doing this is because it's no secret I was running pretty low on epoxy sculpt. I did have a little more, but it wasn't going to be enough to finish this project on its own, so I kind of had to ration it. But anyways, I swapped a couple of the pieces out for the octahedron pieces, which actually helped really well in defining the shape of the rest of the pieces. I used those pieces as a guide to take the puzzle over to my belt sander, and then I sanded the rest of the puzzle down so that it lined up with those faces. Because those puzzle pieces were already the correct shape, I could trust them in aligning the rest of the pieces to those as reference, and it worked pretty well. And after that was done, all the shaping was complete, and so now it was time to fill all the pieces. Nothing out of the usual, I just stuffed all the pieces full of epoxy sculpt, and of course I did stuff the pieces with some tissue paper beforehand. It's very simple to explain, you don't have to fill the entire piece, so I like to stuff some tissue paper onto the inside of the piece that you won't sand down to, and it works really well in filling part of the area in a disposable material so that the precious epoxy sculpt doesn't go to waste. And after that was done and everything was cured, I sanded all the pieces down and everything was looking nice, so now it was time to disassemble the puzzle and round off each of the pieces individually. I got my nail file out and I knocked off all of the sharp edges, and everything was looking really nice, so I got some Scotch-Brite out and I just rubbed all the pieces down to knock off all of the small burrs and make all the pieces nice and smooth. So after that was done, I reassembled the puzzle and I checked the puzzle for movement before taking it over and painting it black. And here it is, the puzzle was all painted and it was looking really nice. I checked the puzzle for movement once again and everything was turning perfectly. This puzzle shapeshifts like crazy, and so now it was time to sticker it up. I threw some stickers on the regular uncut faces and everything was looking really nice, but on the areas that I cut down, I didn't bother to sticker. And the reason I did this is because the fact that that screw is still exposed is really bugging me, and I didn't have enough time in this build to actually cover it over because I'm not entirely certain as to how I'm going to do that. There isn't really any surface to build upon, so I'm going to have to manufacture my own cap, and I'm probably going to have to seal that screw off completely. But anyways, I think this puzzle looks really good. I'm not sure if it's been done before, but if it has, I'll make sure to credit the original designer in the description of this video. I hope you guys like this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
Well, that wasn't supposed to happen.